Let me share my screen, and what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about how to design for time-based media. And that is really what our goal is for our first morning session. So this is the blog, as you know, when you scroll down. And so basically, what we're only doing for Thursday is you're going to do a storyboard. And what the storyboard is, just to give you a visual reference, and this is all that I'm asking from you. I'm asking from you a rough, what we call a rough mock-up for a storyboard. And what this is what we call a sequence. A sequence of images and type that help us to understand as editors, right? Video editors, motion graphic editors. Helps us to know what comes first, next, and next. So I'm only asking to let me get this out of my way. I am only asking for you to do 8 frames. 8 frames only of a storyboard.
Professor, that was like a thumbnail sketch, right?
Yes, that is exactly a rough, thank you for saying that language, because rough and thumbnail go side by side. So yes, it's a thumbnail sketch. And you can use
almost like a little like picture movie, right? Where you just
very much. And,
okay.
And the definition of a storyboard is a story in motion. And so it's like a book. Like imagine a storyboard being a book. And so, you know, you open the book, you know, what's on the cover, what do people see first? When they turn the page, turn the page, and now you're putting it in time, so it's linear and it's just running. It's not even interactive like a web design.
So can it be like a highlight reel type of thing?
Well, we often, when you say highlight reel, like a demo reel.
Yeah, like I'm trying to say like
it's a video.
Like a slideshow like type thing. Like
it is, yeah, very much like a slideshow.
Right.
But things are moving more so. And don't forget, in a promotional video, you can input music.
Yeah.
And in Photoshop, you can input video. So
no,
if you want to, if you want to import video, which is not a slideshow, you can do that into this video. But the storyboard is like a slideshow, Louis.
Yeah, no, I just didn't know if like each picture had to like tell like a story as opposed to like.
It does, but some of it is simple. Some of it can be complicated. It depends on what slide we have. So for instance, when we do a mock-up for web, it often looks like this, right? Giving us an idea where things are. So in a rough mock-up, such as storyboards, we kind of start with this. And then what we have is we often have, when we want the client to approve of it, we flush it out in Photoshop and Illustrator. So these probably would be, like for instance, all of this would have been, the yellow and the black and the type would have been done in Illustrator. This in the back probably was done in Photoshop. Photoshop, Photoshop, Photoshop. So you would import your Illustrator files, as we did with that type on a path, into Photoshop and generate JPEGs to give them a visualization. But the first one could have looked like this. And then once they approve the order, then it comes to this stage. So, and there's lots of different, you know, this is why we say motion graphics, because as you can see, we're bringing in graphic elements into the frame, such as this, right? But we do have photographs, and some of these could be live action videos, such as in here. These all could be spinning, and they all could be live action, not just a static image. So this is what you see mostly on the web and mostly on broadcast. And everything starts with this. So I am only asking for Thursday is 8 frames, and you can utilize the link that I've given you here, or you can make your own, is storyboards. So often, you know, there's lots of different formats of storyboards. I use this for the animation class simply because they're big, you can draw and you can write a little bit if you want to have. Now, this project is really your project. I am only asking for specific things to be in there. But again, you can import, let me get out of here. You can import music, and you want to be sure to have credits. So more than likely, you will have all of your videos will go to a YouTube channel. And if you have Gmail, you already have a YouTube channel. You may not have anything in there, but it's very good to be logged into your Gmail on a regular basis on your computer, so that if you go to a YouTube video and you really like it and you really want to save it, you can quickly like it and quickly add it to a playlist. That is how you save things that you come across and go, wow, I would love to be able to do this, or I would like this example to be shown to express the ideas that I'm trying to get across to my client. So the important thing again is you want to, in our promotional video, you're using the same pictorial assets as you have from the web design. You can add more, and you know, you can, it's hard to put a whole mission because it takes so long to read. So create like 1 sentences, 1 words, and I'm going to show you examples of that as we go along. Because what we're talking about is how to communicate ideas when you're proposing time-based medium to the clients and to your team who may be creating the work. You don't want to exceed 30 seconds. 30 seconds is the standard broadcast, and you're going to create a YouTube video, which is for screen, and you want to include credits. You always want to make sure that any body of work that you create has your name on the work. And you know, some of that can go with your copyright. The other thing that's important in your video is to be sure to have the URL to the organization, so that they, and you can put that also in your YouTube description. It's very good, you know, in the YouTube description, they give you the ability to type text. And in that ability, you can put a URL right in there, so that when they're done looking at the video, they can quickly go to the nonprofit organization. So it's important to have the URL in that. The other one, again, you can have the pictorial elements and the graphic elements, and graphic elements are things like geometric shapes, type, horizontal lines, and so forth. Textures is another one. Somebody wanted to do patterns, so we can cover patterns. Patterns are really best to create in Illustrator. And if anybody would like me to walk you through that, just let me know and I will do that. Photoshop has the ability to create patterns, but Illustrator gives you a whole interface in making better patterns. So again, you always have your 5-color theme. You know, what's the dominant color and so forth. So again, for Thursday, you know, instead of concepts, we know the concept is the nonprofit. All you're going to have in your concept is your storyboard. So you can take a picture of it with your phone, or if you do have a scanner, you can scan it. We did talk a little bit about scanning. Does anybody want to tell me what resolution one should scan? And you can guess.
300?
Exactly. All you have to remember is 300. Very important.
Okay.
When you come upon programs, and trust me, this happens to me on a daily basis. I've never used it before. I don't know how to use it. But the one thing I know is that if it's a scan, I got to find the tool that tells me 300. Because then you're getting the quality exactly what it is. And that's 100%. So if you wanted something to be larger and be good quality, just double it up, 600, 1200, 1800. I think 1800 is the highest that most personal scanners go. Now, when you have to go to a larger size, like a billboard, like you remember this one here? I have it on a page, but it's quicker sometimes to get on Google. On the iPhone photo on buildings, iPhone image on buildings. Does anybody remember some of those things that they used? And they said this was taken with an iPhone. Don't you remember those billboard, that campaign, iPhone images, photos, iPhone?
Maybe?
Yeah,
Wait,
iPhone image taken with my camera, my iPhone. Oh, you know what? I'll have to go to my page here. So right now I have something that I want to show you because I just thought of it. And I can go to my website and call it up right here. Okay. And go to my media library, right? Remember your media library? And you can call things up, all that you see in references to be able to show you. So now you can see all my images that I've used. So in an iPhone right here, and you can go edit, and there we are. You remember that? Shot on iPhone? It was on billboards. So this would say, this billboard picture was shot with my iPhone. So how did they do that, right? So for instance, we just talked about scanning at 300. So if the client wanted my iPhone or their iPhone image to be on the billboard marketing campaign, then you would print from your professional service, they would print an 8x10 because your iPhone will create an 8x10 image at 300 DPI. They would print that, and then you would take that photo to a professional service, and they would scan it at 30,000 DPI. That is how you get an iPhone image onto a building. You shoot it with your iPhone, you print it as an 8x10 print, you take it to another service, and they scan it at 30,000 DPI, whatever it is. I don't even know. I'm just letting you know it's very big, and the client pays for it. And that is how you get an image onto a billboard. So it's just doubling up the image in that context. So in theory here, what we're talking about is how to be able to get images. Now, video is very easy like web because it's only 72 DPI, but there is an HD resolution. And again, that is why when you go File New in Photoshop, it will give you all the commercial professional formats that is the deliverable to clients. And that is why when you start a project in Timebase, it is always a blank document with all of the resolutions set up to be exactly what you need. Pixel dimension as far as video is concerned. So this is an example. So first you would start out with the rough mock-up, which is what I'm only asking for. And then you would do the colorization, static images only. You would probably capture this from the video and put this into Photoshop to give them what we call keyframes. So what I wanted to talk about was the resources that you're going to do in your Timebase. So I found this video because I really thought it is an excellent example of what you can do when you are in Photoshop. I have another example of a student simply as that. And this was a progress page without music. Now this student came to love motion graphics, and he is now working in the industry. So I'm very happy to hear those stories. My students always stay in touch with me and give me a heads up about where they are and what they're doing. And I really appreciate that. And I hope that all of you will do the same, because it's exciting. It's exciting to hear that people are utilizing beginning skills in an advanced opportunity of employment. So this was Arnon's, all done in Photoshop. And now he's an expert in After Effects. So his campaign was, let me go back on this. This was, as you can see, all the layers, right? And this was his marketing campaign. He chose Artaban, an environmental company, organization, I should say, that is trying to protect our planet. And boy, do we need to do that. So it's important to know that all of this was created primarily in Photoshop. I would say he probably, like even the red shapes could have done with the polygonal tool and used a fill. And then the silhouette of the bird, he got a picture of a bird in flight, and he put the marching ants around that and made it a silhouette and had textured newspaper into that. And then, of course, text, he had to rearrange that letters one by one. So all those letters were probably in 1, 2, 3, 4 layers, because he could type AU, scale it, duplicate that layer, type in DU, duplicate that layer, because he had the font and the size, not recreate the wheel, BO, and then on the end, he probably had to change the point size and scale. You can see with the factories, he eliminated the sky, and you can see the time base. Now, what I'm going to talk about is, when you look at things, we call it tweening, and this is animation. What we're talking about is time-based vocabulary. The good news, whether you do visual effects, special effects, animation, motion graphics, data visualization, game design, all of this that I'm speaking about is the language of how we talk when we're trying to explain what we want to happen. It's time. So for instance, just start off, right? We'll wait for the beginning. What's going to happen is what we call orientation. The red and the black square moves in position from X to Y. In 3D, it's a Z plane. So that's what we call a transition called position. And I'll show you those tools in Photoshop. So I want you to understand the concepts of tweening when you apply it to the tool. Because if you don't understand the concept for the tool, you're not going to understand the purpose. Just like in scanning, we scan at 300 dpi. Why? Because of good resolution. So this was a position, that right now was a fade in. That is what we call appearance, an alpha, opaque. Now you see it, now you don't. 0 to 100. It fades in, it fades out. The next one that is not here is a scale. And then I'm going to show you some videos on that. The red lines are what we call a reveal. And let me see how Arnon did it so I can explain it to you. Okay, no, he just faded them on. It wasn't a reveal where he moved it across as a right-on. So these are literally everything that Arnon is doing right now. And I'm just refreshing my memory, is literally a fade on. The only other thing is a transition, which is that red and black square that comes together. That is a position change. So now let me go to, let me stop this. Let me go to a more complicated situation. This is a little bit about what you will be doing. And here we play it. Let me get my sound on. I have my headphones on. Actually, you know what? I don't want the sound on, so I'm going to turn it off because sometimes you get very distracted with sound. So let's just watch it. Now you remember what we just saw with Arnon. Think of transitions and think of some other things that are not in Arnon's video. What are some of the things that you see happening that were not in Arnon's example? Just give some good guesses.
The fade in, I mean the zooming in.
The
Well,
blur,
definitely
the-
transitions are on, right? One image to the next. Position is changing, with sometimes I read goes to the left, the other one goes to the right. So that's a position change. That's the same that Arnon did. One goes to the left, one goes to the right. But there are some things in the very beginning. What do we see that's different? It's called scale. Nothing got bigger or smaller in Arnon's example. But here, things got bigger, things got smaller, and so forth. So that's what we call a tween. So a tween is what we call in-betweens keyframes. Keyframes are your storyboard. Storyboard, frame, frame 1, frame 2. Everything in between is what happens. And that's why we call it tweening. Tweens. So position is a tween, that can change. Alpha can change. Rotate was one that is definitely in the very beginning here. You see a lot of that. Rotate, rotate. Scale, zoom in. Rotate, scale, rotate, scale. The other thing that you see that is happening is the blur. In focus, out of focus. That is appearance again, like the alpha. In focus, out of focus. That's a transition. We call that appearance in blur. So here we have the tweens. Position, scale, rotate, alpha, visual effects like glows. Now you see the glow, now you don't see the glow. Reveal, reveals it a little bit. Like that was a reveal of HER. On and off is not a tween. Tweens happen that things that change from one to the next. You see a lot of scale. Position, you see a lot of things go up, that's position. The only thing that that we do see as well that is a tween is called speed. Is it slow, like the Ken Burns effect, or is it fast? So speed is also a transition. Now, those vocabularies that I just gave you are literally everything that people see when they create motion graphics, visual effects, special effects. Position, alpha, scale, rotate, speed, visual effects, appearance, opacity, transparency. Pretty much, that's it. Now, to do all that is the challenge that one has to learn. So everything you see right now in this particular video, and it's long, it's actually 1 minute and something, what is it, 2 minutes. We're not asking for that. We're asking for 15 seconds to 30 seconds max. But this is a good example of why motion graphics is so sought after in communicating ideas and in teaching and informing. So it's really why video has become so dominant in our world today, because you can play it again, you can stop it, and so forth. And so everything you see right here theoretically can be done in Photoshop, but in actuality, you would take this to After Effects and it would be easier. Because there are some things that are not as easy in Photoshop as it is in After Effects. But for our purposes, what we're doing is you're only doing the very basic tweens, which is position, scale, rotate, and so forth. And again, this is where it's very important to be able to easily do a rough video so that it gets handed over to something that could be complicated and a little bit more involved. So that is, I have 6 minutes left. I'd like to ask any questions. I would like to ask you if you have any questions regarding what is expected to be seen in the final project for the video and what is due for Thursday, which is the storyboard.
Yeah, Professor.
Oh, go ahead, Splashy.
Oh, okay.
Any questions?
My power kind of went out, so I got knocked off for the beginning.
I think your questions, I don't hear you. Is that right?
Can you hear me?
There we go. Sorry, Louis.
Oh.
No, it's Splashy first and then me.
Oh, Splashy, sorry. I had my sound off so I could hear no one.
You're good.
All right. I missed the first portion of the lecture.
Okay, but that's, so I will put that up as well, but just to give you a quick review, Splashy, so I'm happy you're asking that. You're basically going to do a storyboard. You could utilize, this is on the site, and what you're doing is just a rough thumbnail of the sequence of your promotional video for your nonprofit cause.
Okay. And what app is this going to be done in?
In Photoshop.
Photoshop?
Yeah, no, the storyboard is on a piece of paper.
Oh, okay.
On a piece of, yeah, on a piece of paper. I mean, if you want to draw, some people have tablets and styluses and they can draw, but I'm only looking for a piece of paper that you're going to take a picture of with your camera and then upload that image to WordPress.
All right, cool.
That's for concepts.
All right.
And this is the motion graphic. What we were talking about before was the tools that we're going to be doing in Photoshop called the tweening tools, the keyframing tools.
Yeah.
To create the video.
Yeah, I caught that part. But being that you said that you're going to upload it, I could just check it out. Check out.
Yeah, I mean, I will put this in because it does talk about specific things, but basically right off the bat, on the web page here, where am I here? On my Cricken, let me get to that quickly. You know, on the page, definitely scroll to the homework assignment, and it shows you what needs to be in the board. And that is right here.
Okay.
So in the board, you want to be sure to have the logo. You want to be sure to write the words, the meaningful words to convey what the video is about. You want to be sure to put the URL, like possibly at the end. And, you know, you're going to do rough sketches of photos. You don't have to worry about credits and music and the 5 color themes because this is just your storyboard. The progress will have the 5 color themes in there. This is where, but you're looking at only 8 frames, Splashy.
And the storyboard is due Thursday.
It's Thursday, right.
All right.
Which is just which is just a sketch though.
Only a sketch and only rough. Yes, the reason why I gave you these examples is this is what we would call a professional example after that first rough thumbnail. This comes after, but I'm not asking for this.
Professor, 2 questions. Well,
yeah.
Will there be a sample video thing on your website that we could go off of?
The one I just showed you.
Okay, that's on your page, right?
Yeah, that is on this one right here.
And then, okay, perfect. No, I meant like the actual video.
Yeah, this is a good one.
The actual video is on your page, right?
Yeah, this is right on this is my Word blog.
Okay, and then my next question was, so do you want us to have like wording on our motion picture or no? Like
Yes, definitely. Words that convey meaning. You don't have to put the entire mission because no one really reads a lot of information in video.
Now, do we have to put that in the sketch or just the pictures are okay?
Well, that's a good comment that you just made. I want to say that
you get what I mean?
Often you can put just large words that are the big headings, and then you can also just scratch. You know, for instance, in web design, you see how they scratch titles?
Yeah. That's
All
sort of
you
what I
need to
did-
do.
okay.
That's
That's
all you
what I
need to
did
do.
on my collage poster. So that's okay. That's perfect. All right.
Exactly. That is what we always do when we're doing a thumbnail, is like type goes here, heading is this, you know, and so forth. Good questions. Any other good questions on the time base? So we're going to be working on the time base. When we come back, I have 1 minute left. So of course, as you